And first of all, thank you for spending time with us. Tell me, you've been out of your house for a couple of days now. How have you been experiencing the people here? What have they been telling you about what they would like you to do in the future?
They are so enthusiastic about trying to help us to achieve change. I mean, change is the great word. They feel that there's a great need for change in this country, and that's what they all want, and especially the younger people. I've been telling everybody over the last few days that one of the greatest changes that I've noticed since I was arrested 7 years ago is that there's so many more younger people supporting our movement, and they're all for change.
And you've been speaking a lot about dialogue since you've gotten out. Why do you think the military will enter into a dialogue with you? Because they've tried to keep your party out of the election. They now have this parliament. Why do you think they'll want to talk to you?
Well, we've been talking about dialogue for the last 22 years. I think the problem is that most military people are not used to dialogue because you don't have dialogue in the military. You have commands. And I think perhaps some of them don't quite understand what we mean by dialogue. What we mean by dialogue is let's talk to each other. We'll tell you what we want. You tell us what we want. We come to some kind of compromise. Obviously, there'll be times when we don't agree with each other, but we don't have to then say, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You talk a bit more. You try to find more common ground. I don't think this kind of exchange is something with which the military in general are familiar, and I think that has been our greatest problem.
If you say that the military is not used to speaking and you want to empower the people, that means you're going to have to challenge the military. So what I see is campaign rallies, people maybe protesting even if peacefully. Is that the kind of things that you're thinking? Mass events? That's challenging the military. That's not something they've reacted to very well so far.
Well, again, you see, I've talked about the way in which communications have changed the world. I think this is going to be a help in Burma as well. Now, even the military are not completely shut off from what the people feel. They cannot pretend not to know what the people feel, what the people think, how the people wish change to be brought about. So we have to use the new developments of the 21st century to bring about a new 21st century military mentality.
Okay, so then, of course, I have to ask, what about yourself in the communications revolution? You were locked up at the time that the internet happened, cell phones, Facebook and Twitter. How are you? Are you starting to already look into those fields a little bit?
Well, I'm quite familiar with computers and so on, so I don't think the rest is all that difficult. I think you just get used to it.
Have you been on Facebook and Twitter yet? Have you tried it yet?
No, I don't have an internet line. I have to apply for that. There's a bit of difficulty there because I think you have to say that you're free from political affiliations or something like that.
That could be an
issue.
So
I'm going to say I'm not free from political affiliations, but still I'll make an application and see what happens.
You've been talking a lot about dialogue, but you've also been very, very vocal on the need for dramatic change, as you say. Are you afraid they're going to lock you up again for saying that at some point? I mean, right now they seem to be letting it happen, but you never know how long that's going to last.
Just dramatic change. Let's put it as change in the right direction. And about your question about do I think they'll lock me up again? So many people ask me this question, and the only thing I can say is I don't know. It's always a possibility. After all, they've arrested me several times in the past. There's nothing to say that they won't arrest me again. But you can't keep thinking about that. You just have to get on with your work.
Taking that into account, though, that this could happen any time, as you say, isn't it time that you put in place a successor to yourself, someone from all these young people that you say are coming to the organization, someone lifting someone into a leadership position within the NLD, a young person at your side?
I don't need a successor. I need many successors. There's nobody, obviously, who's going to take over the leadership of the NLD at the moment. And I don't believe in just having, grooming a successor. That's not very democratic in my view. You don't groom a successor. You give everybody a chance to take over if they are good at it. It'll be, I hope, a civilized democratic competition between the coming generation as to who will emerge as the leader. There may not be just one leader. The best thing, of course, in a democratic countries is for there to be several potential leaders, and they'll all take the turn. That's what happens in democratic countries. People don't go in forever. They come in at one election, and sometimes they go out in the next election. Sometimes they stay on for a few more, but they go out in time. And there have to be others, and when one goes out, there are always several there to compete for the place.